Winston here and the Wild Kitten Gang, and I want to explain to you why this Fed meeting today will come out with zero rate change, but it still has a huge impact on the stock market because of two things happening. And then I want to explain to you why mainstream media, who just told you this morning that US GDP, the US economy is growing at 3% and that's marvelous, why that is actually nonsense and why that also is good news for your portfolio. So if you want to learn that, if there be some value in that, smash the like button or put a heart in the chat or something. While Winston is watching the madness here in the background, to trying to destroy my office here, undoubtedly. So there he is. He's had enough. He's had enough. He's like, these guys are just mad. So shall we jump straight into it, or shall we look at more kittens? That is the big question. Let me know in the chat. What's more interesting? Me teaching you stuff about money and you potentially making more money, or us talking about kittens? That's the real challenge here. Maybe we can do both. So Goldman Sachs just came out with their preview, meeting by meeting. And that's what all the big investment banks do just before this happens. They send to their clients, not to you and me, the riffraff of Main Street. They sent a statement, what they think is going to happen. And there's a full PDF note. I just screenshotted the beginning of it here because that's kind of the interesting bit. And they're basically saying, basically, there will be no rate cut at this meeting, right? That's the first one. I've also screenshotted another one here for you just so you believe that this is actually what Wall Street is saying. Basically, they're saying there's going to be no rate cut, okay? And then they kind of talk through all the data points here from Bank of America. And an easier way of looking at this is from a Bloomberg terminal, which would show you, but you can look this up for free on the internet too, the likelihood, the probability, trust an old banker that can't spell, right? Where do all the cats go? Where do they all go? Where are they now? We need like sort of a tracking camera or something, don't we? These guys are properly naughty, properly naughty. Let me see if we can move them around. There they are, you see? Real pain in the, they're absolutely lovely, obviously. So what does a 3% probability mean? I'm totally distracted. And I'm sure you guys are going to talk about SOFR. We'll do that in a second as well. It means there is no rate cut coming, right? So that's first thing needs to be established. There will be no rate cut, so don't bother watching the news about whether there's a rate cut. But, and this is a big one, and this is from Bloomberg. They're saying that two governors, Waller and who's the other one? Can't remember. They're going to dissent. They're going to publicly come out and say, I disagree with you, Mr. Chairman. And that never happens. The last time that happened was in 1993. Was that those days when Bill Clinton was saying, I did not have, you know what the sentence goes. Wasn't that around about 1990? No, that was a little later, wasn't it? That was later in the 90s, wasn't it? That was 97 or something. Anyway, I digress. This never happens. Now, but possibly these two governors are trying to get his job, but it's going to send a signal to the market that as this Fed chair's term is about to expire in early 2026, which is only a heartbeat away, rate cuts are going to come in hard and strong. And if you go back to the expectations, here is some more gibber from the coked up lot on Wall Street. Sorry, Goldman Sachs obviously didn't mean that part. They're saying that the market will be able to continue to look through any near-term weakness and growth. Our base case is the market can probably still hold on to that faith. Basically, they're going to say to the moon. That's basically what Goldman Sachs is saying there in a lot of words about the market. And that's what I'm trying to get through to you here, which, if that makes some sense to you, you're going to wonder what stocks to buy, right? So I'm going to do a special session for you guys this Saturday at 10 a.m. New York time about how to make the most of this rally, which I believe is going to continue for quite some time. At the same time, how to protect your portfolio. Because do you remember the beginning of this year? I don't know, everyone's like scrubbed it from their memory. Let me move the kittens out of the way for a little while here. But yes, although the kittens, where did the kittens go? Where are the kittens? There, there's some kittens. So we need a, hang on, there is a face tracking. Let's see if that works. No, it doesn't work apparently. Do you remember February this year? You were down at least 20%. Maybe you were down 50%, 60%, maybe more, right? That was 2025. Do you remember post-COVID, that glorious rally, what happened? Everything went to the moon and then it went to shit, right? Pardon my French. I should have said. The same thing is going to happen again. It's inevitable. It happens all the time. It happens. There is a major crash every 3 years, a major, bigger one every 7 years, every 20 years we get like total freaking calamity. And therefore what happens is that people make money and then they hand that money back over to the buggers on Wall Street, right? So how to attack the leather chair. Yeah, they like that leather chair, actually. They like that a lot. Albert sits on it as a very manly man. He sits on it and he's like, this is my smoking chair, get away. So anyway, if you're going to join me for the live training on Saturday, put a T in the chat for training because it'll teach you how to make sure this never happens to you, at the same time, how to really take advantage of this golden bonanza. But let's get back to the story here, and kitten entertainment included. These guys are sweet, right? Move the cam, please. Okay, more kittens or less kittens? Put that in the chat. Put more or less, and we will follow the majority. Some people seem to find the kittens distracting, but you only need to look at this column. You don't need to look at the rest. Loving you guys for all the T's there joining for joining for the training. In September. And don't worry, you can't see all the columns. You only need this one. 66% likelihood of a rate cut. Right? More, less, more. We should do a vote. More, less. It's about half. It's about half. So maybe we reduce it a little bit. How about that? Sort of fair, a bit of space. Although honestly, you're not missing anything. We're not seeing nonsense here. So by the end of the year, we're basically expecting 2 rate cuts. I think that would be fair, right? And then by 2026, we're gonna get down another percentage point. I think that expectation is going to increase, and I'll tell you why. Because they just showed you this. I'll put it next to the kittens so you can still see the kittens. You want to zoom in more, but then you're gonna miss stuff. There we go. That's good, isn't it? That's very, very good. We got a lamp. One lamp's down. She's meant to be the grown-up, by the way. That's the mother teaching her children how to destroy my studio. Now, CNBC just came out and said the US economy grew 3%. Yes, 3 glorious %, which must mean everything is wonderful. The economy is pumping. And, well, if we had a 3% strong economy, then there's no way we would ever get rate cuts, right? Ever, right? Separate channel for the kittens. 100K subs by end of year. Yeah, and that's probably true. I just stopped talking and just put the kittens on. That would probably work. They've also just moved the camera. How do they even do that? How do you guys do that? There we go. We're mildly distracted. I think it's fair to say there is some distraction here due to kitten-related content. There we go. But they are cute. So as I try to focus back on the economy, and I'm failing miserably, here is, if you read CNBC, good luck to you. US economy grew at 3%, a better than expected pace, even as Trump's tariffs hit. Jeff Cox, the man who wrote that, is either a Dumbo or he is intentionally misleading you. And I'll tell you why. And this chart is worthy of a screenshot, my friends. Okay, let me zoom in for you. So, there are 2 green, blue. These glasses make everything the wrong color. You see this blue bar here, that one? Let me find a matching blue color. That blue bar there and that blue bar there. What is it? What does it stand for? Well, let me show you. Net exports, So what happened in the first quarter when the tariffs were about to hit? What happened? Massive, massive imports. Why? Because if you're Walmart or somebody who's selling stuff online for £2.99, $1.99, you're going to import as much as you possibly can before the tariffs hit, right? That's what they did. And that reduced the GDP in the last quarter substantially, right? It was negative here, negative there. I feel like, oh, now we know why the banana trees look so sad. Look at that. We've just found out. That's why they look so sad. I was trying to figure out what happened to the poor things. Bastards. There they are, destroying everything in their wake. Now, what's just happened now that the tariffs are in effect? Much, much less, wrong color, imports. Because imports are more expensive. And that's the only reason the GDP numbers are up. So this GDP number up here is nonsense, just as the GDP number down here was nonsense, because it's entirely driven by imports and exports, which in reality have no bearing on your economy or the size of it. So it's just nonsense. In reality, what actually happened as the destruction continues is that GDP is basically just going sideways. Does that make some sense to you? If that makes some sense to you, put a 1 in the chat if you're not entirely distracted by the Adams family there in the background, who are going absolutely berserk. That makes some sense to you? Put a 1 in the chat there. Time for a cat tree. Yeah, we do have 1 or 2. They don't scratch the leather. I'm glad you guys are paying attention to the economics here and the importance to your portfolio when everyone's just talking about kittens. Okay, what? Lots of 1s, lots of 1s, lots of 1s. Brilliant. All right, so kittens have left the building. So let's focus a little for a little while we still can. And what does that mean for you? Well, just learn what the heck to buy. The rally's going to continue. The economy hasn't sped up. It hasn't slowed down. Nothing's actually happened on that front. If anything, we're seeing some signs of a slowdown, which means rate cuts, my friends, are inbound, which means this market is very likely to continue in an unadulterated form. Not necessarily through August, so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But yeah, see the link down below, felixfriends.org/training if you want to sign up for Saturday's live training, where we'll teach you how to make the most of this rally and how to protect your portfolio at the same time so that you don't get hit in the face again by one of those market crashes, which will undoubtedly happen. Now, pre-market is actually looking pretty great, if you ask me. Nvidia up 0.7%, Microsoft's up, Meta up 0.8%, Tesla is flat, CVS is pumping. Okay, Visa got hit, ADP got hit, might be earnings related, as did TT. Palantir is up 0.4% yet again. So AMD is down 1%, okay. But overall, everything looks pretty good, except for a little stock called SoFi. And I will put out a full-length video on that after this one. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I'm going to walk you through that, but I'm not going to walk you through every teeny little here, except to say earnings were freaking amazing. And then they issued 7% more stock, which is dilutive, and it means the stock's down about 7%, which also means the extra $1.5 billion that SoFi has collected from that, $1.5 billion, is apparently going to return 0, right? See what I'm saying? It's a bank. They're going to do something with that money. They're going to lend it out. They're going to make a return from it. And apparently the market doesn't believe them at this point. So I like it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you should buy it. I'm not saying that there is no risk. I'm just saying I like it. The last time they did this, by the way, was in, wasn't it March 2024? I thought so. Yeah. This was it. This was it. So market dropped about 20%. Actually, dropped a bit more. It kept dumping for quite a while. But it was trading at, $8 then, and obviously it's gone up a fair bit since. So it's entirely up to you what you do with that knowledge. But yeah, it did tank a fair bit. What happened to PayPal? Earnings also looked sound, but the market didn't like it. So they beat by 10 cents EPS earnings, which was pretty impressive, I thought. But the market does not like it for some reason. Let's ask our news on in Trade Vision here, which is something you guys can get access to, by the way, if you want. You just go to felixprehn.com/Trade Vision. So earnings beat and raised guidance. Strong financial performance and growth, expansion, digital wallet and crypto offerings. What's the problem? Market skepticism or profit taking. Concerns over future growth. Yeah, I mean, I think also I saw that Visa just tanked. So the whole sector, the whole kind of Visa and PayPal are fairly close competitors in a sense. It's just under a bit of pressure. So it could be just a little bit of that. Just people expecting less. That's really what that is. Do you feel about EXK? Do you think it's gonna tank soon? I just set a stop. That's all I would do. Just set a stop. Just don't worry about it. Never look at it again. Set your stop. Look at it if it moves up 10%. If it doesn't, just don't look at it. That's what I do. At least not until the end of the week. Just don't sweat the little stuff like stocks that move 0.3% down and you're worried about it. Just go out, get a hobby, set a stop. PayPal reminds me of Meta when everyone thought it was dead. Yeah, but Meta, in fairness, did have Zuck, who is a pretty extraordinary leader. Might be not your favorite person in the world or whatever, but he's a pretty extraordinary leader because he built that company. This guy, the CEO, I don't know. I think the proof's still in the pudding. I don't know whether you'll deliver. And I don't really like that because I don't really want to hope that some CEO is competent to make me money. So that would be my view on PayPal. Is concerning. That's what I would say. Concerning. Set a stop and watch it dip 10% pre-market, says Captain Stubborn. Well, how big's your position size, my friend? If it's small enough, you don't care. That's the key thing. Risk management is not about risk management on one sticker. It's about risk management of the whole portfolio. So if it upsets you, then your portfolio, your position is too big. It's very simple. What else we got here? Novo, yeah, NVO is also tanking, right? Profit warning or something, right? Yeah, it's really, really ugly. Really, really ugly. What's the news there? They've revised their sales growth down 8 to 14%, operating growth to 10 to 6%, slower than expected market penetration and competitive pressures. Not something you want to hear. So yeah, that's definitely not good. That's definitely not good. Was there a warning sign? Yeah, where was it? There. That was your warning sign. Yeah. So it just isn't recovering as now. It's tanking some more. And that's mostly what stocks do once they start falling. So if you had set a stop up here, somewhere there, actually you would have gotten out, hang on, you would have gotten out about there. It would have saved you 61% losses. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. HIMS, yeah, what's HIMS doing on that news? Looking decent, actually, holding on to yesterday's gains. So I don't know if that's really related, but in a way, it isn't great for HIMS either because you kind of don't want there to be much pricing pressure in the whole weight loss nonsense thing. Right, what else have we got here, my friends? Any other tickers you want us to look at? Let's look at a couple of the big names here. Palantir still looking absolutely glorious, dipping a tiny bit today, but middle of yesterday's trading range still looks extraordinarily strong. Nvidia is pumping. It's pumping. It's looking good. AMD, it's also looking very good. It's still within yesterday's trading range, and yesterday was a glorious day. Look at that volume there yesterday, right? Not the most bullish candles, as it might be a little bit of resistance there. Yeah, and guess what? What's at 180? Who's a Trade Vision user here and knows what's at 180? We don't make it that obvious, I must say. We're working on that. That is the resistance, which is at $180. And where does that come from? It is market makers. So it's the options market that forces the market makers to sell at 180. That creates resistance. That is data you can only get in Trade Vision live for all the big tickers. So you might want to check that out. There's a link down below. Well done there, Brian and Eric and a few others, and Scott, Shaq as well. What else have we got here? Hood. What's up in the hood? That looks pretty decent. A little bit of sideways consolidation here, but nothing to worry about as yet. I saw Ace Archer in there as well. That's still not good, looking good. That was an ugly close yesterday. Really ugly close. Back into... We're going to have to move this box down. It's back into that sort of zone now, right? So not pretty at all. Topaz House is calculated. It's got something to do with open interest. It's about as deep as I'm going to go. There is an article in Trade Vision, which I helped write, which explains it in great detail. Read that. It'll bore your pants off you. BHP is dropping. Well, which is why I always say buy things on a breakout. But no, actually, I did say this one, I like it cheaper. I do like it cheaper. But yes, it's dropping a little bit this morning. You're quite right. You got to be responsible for your own decisions, as always, right? I even told you where would be setting my stop. Now, what else are we looking at? UNH, a lot of insider buying, which is interesting. About 33 million or thereabouts, I think, last time I checked. Let me have a look here. Okay, earnings. Missed, but did a few good things. They reinstated their revenue outlook, adjusted earnings. So some confidence there. Revenue growth was pretty decent. Long-term growth in services. But net margins dropped to 3.1%. Ouch. You know what that means? If your net margin is 3.1%, if you just closed the business down and took the cash that was left over and put it in the S&P 500, you would beat this business by 4 or 5 times, right? There are a lot of businesses out there that just don't make any sense. They just shouldn't exist. There's no reason for this business to exist with a 3.1% net margin. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, so not great. Not great. I know everyone's always like, oh, buy the dip. Well, most of the time, there is a dip after the dip, and then there's a dip after the dip. So you got to be a little bit careful with that, especially when the setup looks like this. You're below the moving averages and so on. And before you come out and scream, well, but you said the opposite on BHP. Well, BHP, it's trading above its 50-day moving average line. It is in a general uptrend, right? And again, I'm not telling you to buy it. I'm just saying it's a very, very different setup. What else we got here? Plug. Yeah, exactly. If you ever think, oh, this can't go down anymore, zoom out on Plug. It's hard to believe how much the stock's down from all-time highs. It's down. It's off the charts. It's about 99% down. Yeah. So you had $1,000 in this, you got 10 left. And that's after the rally. Alrighty ho. What else have we got here in the chat? Anything you guys want to ask about? Or you people asking about, look at this stock or look at that stock. You could fix that problem by simply joining me on Saturday at 10 a.m. New York time, and I'll teach you how you make better decisions picking stocks, how you make the most of this stock market rally, which I think is going to be way bigger than most people imagine. And when it crashes, which it will, how to protect yourself and make sure you keep those gains. Come and learn that with me on Saturday. If you want to learn that, put an L in the chat for learn. So, what else do we have here, my friends? Car is getting hit. Yeah, earnings are a bit of a dud, and that line I drew in there, that was a good risk management line, maybe. But if you had entered it where I did, you'd be up 92%. You wouldn't be too sad about that, right? So selling something at 92% when you were previously up at the peak 110% is a win. Yeah, you never sell at the top. Remove that thought from your mind. It'll never happen. It's impossible. Okay, you can get lucky occasionally, but we want to do stuff that's repeatable, not just lucky, right? So this is a really, really nice, beautiful win. What else have we got here? Joby, quite a bit of Joby here. That's still looking pretty decent. Also dumping a little bit here this morning, but not again. You got to have some perspective, right? So entry point somewhere here, probably there. You're up 102%. Again, you're not crying that you're not up 115%, right? Just, get real. W for win. I like that. I'm also loving all the L's here, my friends. See you Saturday. KOPN. Yeah, that was one. So entry point was here, 172, and it's come down pretty harshly. So you got to ask yourself, you should have asked yourself on that day, where's your stop, right? And you get 3 ugly red candles in a row. That's telling you something. It's the market telling you something. There is a lot of desire to sell this now. It's popping up a little bit. Maybe you'll get lucky, but you just got to have a stop somewhere. I'm not saying it should have been triggered. I'm just saying you got to have a stop somewhere. Your risk must always be defined. How do you address the taxes from short-term gains? You pay them with the profits that you made. You only have taxes to pay if you make profits, in which case you have the money to pay the bloody taxes. The other alternative is move somewhere where there aren't any taxes. Give up your citizenship if you wish. Those are your options. Or do it in a Roth IRA, in which case you don't pay any taxes. That's a smart move, isn't it? So there we go. What else have we got here? There's a lot of BBAI. What's up with you BBAI lot? Yeah? What do you see? Still above the recent low. It's forming in the famous, very, very famous McDonald's pattern. No, it's a double top. It's not brilliant. It's sort of slightly lower levels here. So a little bit of a concern. So you're gonna want to watch out that we don't drop below that low. That would be kind of important. But it's still a general uptrend. Volume has been pretty low, which tells you it might just be a sideways consolidation as well. So there we are. 1 minute. Oh dear, 1 minute. We have not set up for Le Bel. What is Le Bel? If you are not yet hard of hearing, you're about to be. This bell that we have is very, very noisy. You see, they knocked my camera off, so the bloody studio lights in there. These cats, right? Where are they? Where are they now? No cats? No, none whatsoever. No, not even Winston. So yes, the market is about to open. I believe it is in fact open. So I'm going to ring the bell. This will be loud. That means you need to move away from your speakers or ear thingies. There we go. There we go. The market is officially open. And if you're asking me, it looks pretty good. QQQ is flat. SPY is up slightly. What about some of our sort of risk friends? ARK is up 1.2%. Palantir is up 1.2%. NVIDIA is up 2.2%. Sorry, no, I lie. 0.5%. So there is quite a lot of green and happiness out there. SoFi, on the other hand, got hammered fairly hard. But if the people with the brains wake up this morning, I think there's a fairly decent chance this is going to recover somewhat, because a 7% dilution should not cause an 8% sell-off here, which just doesn't really make any sense, because they are going to do something with that money. It's probably going to make them grow faster, and so on. I woke the dogs. Okay, give them a stroke. Oh, you can't see my screen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am. There we are. There is the SoFi chart. Anthony made love to shareholders. Did he? I didn't. I only read the script briefly. Heat map. Show us. It's a bit. It's like a. You're robbing me at gunpoint. Here is the heat map. Let me just check that it's updated. It should have done. I believe so. Yup. This looks pretty good, doesn't it? ANET up 3.2%, NVIDIA up 0.8%, Apple is green, Cisco's down, and AMD down slightly. I wonder if there's any India link, because the Donald is slapping tariffs on India. Indians are interesting to negotiate with. He's probably gotten a little frustrated on that front. Palantir is up, EA is up, CBS is up, Coins up 3.6%. Starbucks is up 3.6%. BA is up 1.9%. The fat drugs at LLY are up, but not so much at, what happened here? Not so much at Novo, because they came out essentially with a profit warning. What was I going to look up? NVO, right? That one tanked really hard. Really, really hard here. That's an ugly pre-market drop. Actually, two ugly pre-market drops. The first was about 21%. This one's now taking it to 25%. When you see drops that big, run for the hills. That's my advice. Obviously, you got to decide what you do yourself. What are you going to look at now? We're going to look at SoFi. See how is that pulling up? Not so much. Still down 7.3% on the news that they have diluted you by about 7%. Maybe just a touch more. Here it is. See how quick we are? SoFi announced a 1.5 billion underwritten stock offering, which caused shares to tumble 7% after hours on July 29 due to dilution concerns. Our news are getting really, really good, right? We're going to have a big, beautiful news feature, by the way, very, very, very shortly. So you can see live news in here, and you can also see the sources for the article, so you can look at the original, because it's nice to look at the original data usually. Can PayPal take itself private? Yeah, eventually there'll be no shares left, right? Graham says there are 3,657 ungrateful bastards watching this stream and who haven't hit the like button, which is true. Yeah, at least 3,000 people who don't know where it is. Maybe they're just drunk or hungover, or they were put off by the cute kittens, which is entirely possible. I'm going to show you Mama Kitten. Here is Mama Kitten in her full glory. This is Miss Sabrina, who gave birth to 5 little kittens here. And she is absolutely delightful when she doesn't destroy the studio. There we are. So any questions, my friends? It's your time to hit me with them. Write more than just a couple of letters. It's hard to get deep when you just put out a letter. And if you're just putting out a letter, what it means is that you don't know how to read charts yourself. I'll fix that for you on Saturday. Come and join me, felixfriends.org/training. Click on that little link here I've just put in the chat. It's also down below in the description, and it's free of charge, by the way. So come and join me there. Part of our mission to make more and more people financially free. So GDP is artificially inflated by US importers paying tariffs. No, just there being less imports. Because the imports all happened last quarter. Right? That reduced GDP. This quarter it inflated it because there are significantly less imports than usual. You average the two out, it's a non-event. Nothing actually happened. Go back to sleep. Love Albert, the master of disaster. Well, yeah, he's responsible for it all. That's at least what we think. You know, creating all these little monsters. Okay, most of the questions here imply that I have a crystal ball. I don't, but the market moves in predictable patterns. And once you know the predictable patterns, you can position yourself to take advantage of the likely rally, the likely breakout, and you can exit before the merde hits the fan, right? Which is important. How come AMD is higher than NVIDIA? You mean the nonsense about actual share prices? Yeah, please ignore that. So the actual share price does not imply the company is worth more. It depends on how many shares there are, right? Otherwise, it would be like saying that $1 Zimbabwean dollar or $2 Zimbabwean dollar are worth more than $1 US dollar. Believe me, they're not. I think you need $1 trillion Zimbabwean dollars. So just because the numbers look the same, it has nothing to do with valuations or the value of the company. GME, GameStop, yeah, ouch. Yeah, it's been terrible since that horrible gap down here after earnings where they announced they were going to become a non-transparent crypto company, sort of, right? Drew feels ignored. Drew, my friend, there are 3,000 people asking questions. I can't possibly answer every single question, right? It's just not really feasible. I'm not ignoring you. I haven't seen your question, but if you write it again, I might see it. William, I'm glad you're enjoying Trade Vision. Appreciate that. You might have seen we've just updated the little side menu here, which I think is going to be very helpful for everybody to know what they're clicking on. Long live Rhodesia. You actually made me say that, which is somebody could now clip that and make a clip on that, right? Which would be lovely. Right. Miguel feels attacked. Thanks, my friend. Maher is asking for the 15th time why SoFi is down instead of just going to the beginning of the video where I explain it, or simply going into the news section of SoFi and reading, which is what I'd recommend you do, my friend. There is a link down below to Trade Vision. If you're ever wondering why your stock is up or down, Trade Vision usually tells you that. And what we actually are working on is to do exactly that as alerts. So we will alert you with the explanation and not just the movement. There we are, my friends. On that note, we're going to wrap this up here on this big, beautiful, shiny day. Come and sign up for Saturday's live training extravaganza, where I will teach you how to make the most out of this rally, because it sucks being in a rally and not making the most out of it. And then what's going to happen after the rally? There'll be a crash. I guarantee it. And most people will fall on their face. And they'll be lying in the mud going, I wish I would have sold at 100% up. And I can fix that for you too. No more tears ever again. I wish you all the best.